So here is the thing. First of all, thank you, Debbie, for having me again. I don't know where Debbie is. But for anybody who's been a speaker at Grow, you should know that Debbie preps you, I should say terrorize you. So I've been given 10 minutes. I've been told not to talk about my shop, and, because it would bore you to death. And I've been given as a title a retrospective of Canadian venture capital. This in a conference where the major theme is engage or die, meaning seriously, what can I do to entertain you? So I thought, why don't we do something a little bit different, and let's do it in a movie title. So I said, okay, well, let's look what could be a movie title representing Canadian venture capital. Now, I don't think so. So first of all, let's try to address one of the first concerns when people think of Canada and Canadian venture capital. They think about a barren land where no companies, good companies can be created. So let's address this from, I would say, 3 different points of view: from the landscape, from the game changers, and from the new breed. Because I honestly think that a lot can happen in the middle of nowhere. So here we go. We start with the landscape. So the movie that I thought would represent better the Canadian landscape in venture capital is Inception. For those of you who have seen the movie, it's a kind of a dream within a dream, particularly complex. I was sitting next to some friends who didn't speak English when we watched it, and it was brutal. So I don't think anybody understood anything. But in this case, really, it's a complex movie to show a complex reality. Venture capital is a word that has different layers, different industry, different segment. IT is different from clean tech, from life science. And it's very difficult to do justice to this in one word and in one situation. But I'm not going to throw graph as you. The past year, we still have a lot of Canadian companies undercapitalized. We still have a lot of funds undercapitalized. Until we produce results in good companies, the situation will stay like this. So what bothers me more than the bad results, because the bad results have been pretty bad across the asset class in the world, is the absolute lack of private sector, institutional investors, and corporate in this asset class. This is happening worldwide. CalPERS just announced a reduction of 7%, from 7% to 1% of their allocation to venture capital. But in Canada, it's particularly severe. And what is even more severe is the lack of corporates, because corporates are good investors in technology companies, but also anchor customers that validates. And we don't see that much and that often in Canada. OK, so let's continue. So far, pretty bleak. So then what is this? Gone, baby, gone. Well, this is the first good news that I think last year we had. We had $1 billion of exit. Is this bad? Is this good? Honestly, I think anything that improves our results is something good. It depends simply when you sell your company. And we have a situation like this, where we have a player like Salesforce, who comes and buys 4 of our companies. I honestly think that having success stories is good, as long as we're not selling too early. So for the entrepreneur in this room, I think you should think about, am I a quick flipper, or am I in for the long haul? This is absolutely fine to be a quick flipper. We love you. You give us small successes. We just want you to come back for more, because we need serial entrepreneurs. For the one who are in for the long haul, the ecosystem and the investors should support you, and that's what we're trying to do. So let's continue. What is this movie for? All right. Last March, the government announced $400 million to be injected into the venture capital system, which is a great thing. It's been taking some time. And of course, my sympathy goes to those people who are trying to address this task. Because remember Inception, all the different layers, very complex to do it. My only wish is that it's done in a timely fashion and fairly. All right, so let's go now to something a bit more interesting, the game changers. Who are they? First of all, we have the usual suspects. Remember the barren land? Well, the barren land means that certain groups had to stay there and hold the fort. So we are kind of the usual suspects, which are the provincial funds, the federal funds. People keep putting money in the system and being there. Some of you don't like them, but at the end of the day, they were the only game in town. But things are changing. Look, we have these names on this screen, what I call the hardcore and new VCs. What has happened is there is a new breed and a new category of people that stay in the game, invested in companies, all have raised funds in an incredibly difficult time. These people have different skill sets. It's a good mix of operating, knowing how to operate a business and financials. They're here not for the quick buck. They understand how long it takes to grow a company. They also understand they need to compete with the Americans, so they need to be fast, reasonable value, intelligent, and reasonable valuation, need to build a brand, and need to really create value. Any VC that today doesn't work as hard or even harder than the entrepreneur they want to finance should not be in the game. So what these people have in common, and we put us ourselves, of course, into that, it's the movie that represents us is True Grit. It really takes true grit for people to be in venture capital today, because the past 5 years have been really brutal. The next movie, there is no reason why somebody should not put a picture of Brad Pitt on the screen, just for the sake of it. I had to find a reason. Any of you that likes baseball and have watched this movie, they know about what the story is about. It's about the Oakland A's, the Oakland Athletics, that had a very small market, a very small checkbook, and had to trade all the best players to the big guys. It sounds like Canadian companies to me. So they tried to look at things differently. And the way they did it was through exactly sabermetrics, like analyzing the statistics of baseball. So they did something completely different. And these are a big change that I've seen in the last 18 months, so in the last year. There are a lot of people now trying to do things differently. There are different names. I probably have missed somebody, so please forgive me. But what this group of people have in common is that they are trying to do something that neither capital nor government can do, which is change the concept and the understanding of entrepreneurship in Canada. Meaning they are creating a sense and an understanding that a knowledge-based industry is as important or more important of a natural resource one, and that entrepreneurs are value creators and heroes. And this is very important to create a cultural shift that is very much needed. So from the accelerators to established angel groups, from the C100 to different type of movements such as Startup Canada, to places exactly like this. They are celebrating and putting together the best. Now, let's go now to the new breed. Which one is the movie that represents you guys, companies? Oh, come on. It's the Hunger Games, of course. Of course. These years have been difficult, but are we complaining about it? I think what the Hunger Games have created here in Canadian startups is a new breed of companies that have said, no, I'm not going to send 2 of us from the provinces to be slaughtered every year. We're going to look after product, but we're also going to look at market. We're going to choose our investors. And so we have a new breed of companies that are done and they're doing something different, something particular, and many of them are in this room. Now, what they're doing that is particularly interesting is they think, breathe, and live immediately globally. That doesn't mean necessarily having as a market Brazil. It means to think globally in terms of talent, of investors, in terms of your attitude. And that's particularly important. Now, since time, I know all of you want to be the guy who wins the jackpot and it wins the girl or the boy. And that's clear, and I wish you that. But this is incredibly tough. And if you remember the scene in the movie where the little kid wants to meet his very adored idol from Bollywood, and his friends are closing him in a latrine, you understand that if you have a key customer you want to meet, and your competition has locked yourself in a bathroom, this is the situation you're going to find yourself in. This is what it takes. And saying that I salute you because you are the future of our country. And an economy, a knowledge-based economy is what creates jobs, prosperity, and sustainable growth. Thank you.